Welcome back. I'm going to try to solve some chess puzzles today, and I'm going to try not to concern myself too much with the ratings. And I know in the past I've distracted myself with correcting themes and things like that. Today I'm really going to try to ignore those accessories, those sidelines, and just try to focus on the puzzles. Hopefully you'll get something out of this, but mainly it's for me. Feel free to follow along. Let's go. Here we go. Last time I was started at 1990. I went up over 2000 and then the same video dropped back down and worked my way back up to 1988. So it was kind of a roller coaster. This actually looks like a similar puzzle that I just had, doesn't it? I remember this bishop being here, but it was very similar, wasn't it? In my last video, it involved a double check. And I remember thinking something about, I thought about bringing my knight back here, and that turned out to be a mistake. Because I thought, whoa, once the king moved over, then I could come up here. But no, what it turned out to be was that the rook was able to block. But if I double check, if I put my knight down there on e2, it's check from both the bishop and the knight. So the king has to move. They can't block. And then I think from there, I was supposed to come over here to g3, which is check. If they capture with the pawn, then I can bring my queen over to check the king because that pawn will be gone. I think maybe this is the same puzzle. Let's see, is there anything else they can do? No, because it's double check. On double check, you can't capture a piece, you can't block, have to move. Then I bring the knight to g3, which is check. And in that case, they don't have the choice of moving back because the bishop is still guarding g1. So they'd have to take with a pawn. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, and I'm surprised I got points for that. And also that took me a while too, didn't it? Took me like 2 minutes to get that puzzle and I still got 11 points. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that was the same puzzle I had in at least one of my very recent videos, but I could be wrong. Next puzzle. Maybe there are two very similar puzzles that have that same exact tactic, but something else is different about them, and so the computer believes that they're two separate positions. I'm playing with the white pieces. The king has the black king has just moved out of check. My queen is hanging. I could check again with the queen here or here. Those are both checks. I could check again with the rook, but I don't think that's good because of the pawn taking. But right now, I'm noticing that the king doesn't have anywhere to go because my pawn cuts off c5. My rook cuts off those squares. So no, if I check, the king would have that square. But it also might. Oh wow, the queen's hanging two different ways. How did that happen? Sorry, I often miss these things in puzzles, but that's because I don't think I usually see these in games. So I had to, whoever was playing with the white pieces here had to have checked the black king while the queen was hanging two different ways. That's interesting. Okay, so I shouldn't check there because of the rook, but I could check on g3. I don't think the queen would block because I could just take it. My pawn protects that square, e5, and then the king could go there. And I could go here, and that would be mate. So what else is there? If I check from g3, they could move immediately, and if they do, I'm pretty sure that would be mate. Queen to c2. Sorry, c7. I am practicing on naming the squares rather than just saying move the queen here. Okay, so queen to g3 check, I think is the answer. Wait. There are other options. They could block with the rook, but I think if they block with the rook, I just take. And as we already discussed, they could block with the queen, but again, I would just take. I don't think there's anything else. Oh, it just stopped there. Okay. They really shouldn't stop there. That's another complaint I've had. They should go on because in this case, it's forced. The king has to move over to c6, and then you would have mate. And then the theme could be a mate in two puzzle. But as it is, the theme is just move your queen over and check. And that's not one of the possible themes. As you can see, no theme is listed. I said I wasn't going to look at those, didn't I? All right, let's try not to. Next. Black pieces is what I have now. Okay. My knight is pinned. I do notice that. I can check with the pawn. Are there any other checks? Just out of curiosity, if I check with the pawn, the king could move forward one. And then I don't have anything after that, right? Now, if I checked with the pawn and the king tried to escape to g2, see, pawn to g4, king escapes to g2, then I would have knight to e3 check, which I think would win this rook. That would leave me up. I think the king would just move forward. That would basically force this rook to stay here defending this pawn. And the king, of course, could always come out this way to g. Well, no, it couldn't come out to g5 right now, because of my rook. But there's something else. Is there a threat of mate? Because we looked at checks first. That was the only check in this position, pretty sure. The next thing that we look for is captures, and I do not have a single capture in this position. Not one of my pieces or pawns can make any capture as it stands right now. So the third thing that I want to check is threats. Can I threaten anything? Is there a mate threat? For example, I don't care about losing this rook if there's a mate threat. So is moving my knight here, does that threaten mate? It really doesn't. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. And I probably will edit out a bunch of my repetitions there. I just said the same thing over and over. I know I have that habit, but sometimes I have to work through something twice. Fortunately, I have learned how to edit. What else is there? It's not that, I'm pretty sure, because that hangs two pieces. I don't know. I want to go back to this. I mentioned this earlier. It does leave two pieces hanging, but if they take the rook, so I really have no idea. I've spent too long on this puzzle. Hopefully I've edited most of that out. I'm going to play g4 in check. Oh, that was right. All that was my very first instinct, the very first thing I thought of, but I didn't know what to do after king to h4. I have two rooks pointed here, but that doesn't do me any good because my own pawn is blocking my own pieces from doing anything about it. I go here and they take my rook. Wait, is that then mate? Is that the mate threat? Okay. Knight to d4 threatens mate on f3. That's mate, right? Because it's check. The pawn cuts off that square. The knight cuts off that square. So if I play this, if they take my rook, I have mate. And if they try to defend against mate, then I can take their rook. Oh, that's one way they can defend against mate. But now I take the rook, right? Okay, well, it took me far too long, but I got a few points for that. Well, I solved that, so good for me. Let's move on to the next puzzle. Playing with the white pieces, I have a check here if I move my bishop. So the question then is going to be, I assume, where to move the bishop. I would move it right there, wouldn't I? Wouldn't that be mate? Can anything block the check? That's mate, right? Because the bishop blocks these two squares. I know the number up here says 9 in a row, but the little graph says I've done 4 today. I normally try to do at least 10, but I don't always make it because of how long this takes me. So that's what I'm going to try for, but I'm also looking at a limit of about 30 minutes just because I have other things that have to be done in real life. All right, I'm playing with the black pieces. They've just challenged my knight. I'm really not sure what to do, but just let's just do what I always do, or what I should always do at the beginning of every puzzle is look at checks. I do have a couple of checks that are possible in this situation, so I need to check those just in case. If I check with the bishop, I can assume they would take back with the rook, but then I would have this rook to e1 check, and they'd have to, I think they would have to go back to block that check with their rook on f1, and then I would have queen captures f1 check, or rook captures f1 check, and I think that would be mate, right? Do they have any other way out of this? That's the question. Or wait, yeah, they do have a way out of it. They can just move the king. So maybe the queen has to go first. Queen captures f2 check. If the king moves over, then I just go forward and that's mate. So I think they would take with the rook. Rook captures f2. Then I would check on e1 with my rook, and the rook would be pinned. And I think that would be mate. That was mate. Well, that took me a little too long to see because I was concerned with this and trying to think of different tactics of getting it out. But this should remind us, and it definitely reminds me that at the beginning of each puzzle, before I click next, look for checks, then captures, then threats. Next puzzle. I'm playing with the white pieces. I do have checks. I have a check here. Wait. If I check, oh, the bishop's guarding that square. Wow. Okay. Well, let's not do g8 check. What about e4 check? I've just realized that if their king tries to come toward my rook to attack it, then I will capture their rook. And if their king goes anywhere else, then I will capture their rook. So I think that's best. Well, they've pinned my rook to my king. What can I do about that? Because now when they take, I can't take back because their king is guarding that square. How can I get keep their king from guarding that square? Oh, I can check with this pawn, right? Check with the pawn. It's protected by my king. My pawns then would be cutting off these squares. My rook is cutting off these squares. My king is guarding that one, and my rook is guarding that one. So it would force their king away, and then I could move my king up. So if they do take my rook, I would get it back, and I'd be the only one with a piece left. I think that's it. Oh, it just stopped there. Okay. Oh, that puzzle was rated 2200, but it's only been attempted 800 times. So again, I'm trying to block out that whole panel there and out of my mind. That's hard. It's just right there. Can't not see it. Okay. Next puzzle. I do have some checks. I have a check here. I have a check here. I also have a check with this knight right in there on b6. Is that good? I like that. I don't like this because I'm pretty sure that just loses a queen. I'm pretty sure that just loses a queen as well because I don't have like another rook that can slide over here. But I have a queen that can slide over here if that pawn wasn't there. So that's why I'm looking at this check. Knight to b6 check. The king can't move over to b8 because of my bishop. So I think they would have to take with the pawn. A captures b6. And then my bishop is still cutting off b8. These two pawns are stacked up here. And then I think that would be mate. Well, my pawn's here too. So there's just this shooting alley here. I think that's it. Oh, that was it. Okay. Maybe my mind's just a little bit sharper than it was the last couple of times I just did puzzles. Or maybe I'm getting easier puzzles. These are rated higher, but I feel like they're easier than the ones I did in the last 2 or 3 sessions. Gonna click next puzzle. I could take the bishop. Now I'm going to captures now because I think I've exhausted all my checks. I could capture the bishop with my knight, but it is protected by 2 pieces, the queen and the knight. So I think they would probably take back with the knight because they want to get that knight out of their own way anyway. I'm not saying they would capture there now. My bishop is guarding that square, but I'm just saying their own knight is in their way of their battery. So that's why I'm thinking they would probably take back with their knight if I captured the bishop. But if they did that, do I then have anything? If they took back with their knight, then I could capture this pawn on c4. Oh, no, I didn't click on that. That's so frustrating. I was trying to click off to clear the arrows. That's not what I thought it was. Well, it was going to take me a while to figure out what it was. I thought it was this, but it turns out that's wrong too. Okay, so I was probably going to get it wrong. Anyway, what was it? It was knight taking the knight. Okay. Then here or then here? No. No. Okay, well, that one was broken from the beginning because I clicked on the square thinking I was clicking to clear the arrows, and it actually moved my queen, which I did not expect to happen at all. I must have selected the queen, and then when I clicked on another square, it went there. So, like, normally you just click on an empty square and the arrows or selections go away. But anyway, so what I was supposed to do first was just take this knight. Well, that makes sense, I guess, because otherwise my knight could be captured. But I didn't have a chance to go through all the options. So, take the knight, then trade queens, and then I get the bishop for free. Okay, well that all makes sense. I'm just really frustrated that I clicked on the wrong thing. Hopefully that won't throw me off. Let me recenter myself. Remind myself that we're just doing chess puzzles. This isn't a matter of life and death. No one's going to get hurt here. How many puzzles have I done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I've missed 8th one. Okay, my clock is showing that I've gone over 30 minutes, but I'll probably edit this down to under 30 minutes. So let me see if I can squeeze in 2 more puzzles. Next puzzle. Okay, I'm playing with the black pieces. I could just take that queen, but that seems really obvious. Okay, then they would have 2 rooks pointed right here. But I have a queen pointed right there. Oh, but they have a passed pawn right here on d6. If they did that, yeah, I would just take it with my queen. And if they took back with their rook, I would take back with my king, and I would still have a rook over here, so they couldn't promote that pawn. But I'm probably overthinking this. In a game, I would just snap take that, but because it's a puzzle, I'm thinking maybe there's something else. Now, another thing I could do here is take this rook. That's too tempting. I've got to take the queen first because I think I have a valid defense against the rooks down here. I just have this sinking feeling that that's going to be wrong, that I should have taken the rook instead. But let's just do it. Okay, that was right. What? It was that easy? Okay, that's hilarious. That's the exact first thing that I thought of, but it seemed too obvious. And the rating of that puzzle is pending. It's only been attempted 91 times. Oh my. Okay, if I counted right, that was 9 puzzles. I'm going to click one more. I should be able to count to 10, but who knows? I've made plenty of other calculation errors in my lifetime. Oh no, not a middle game puzzle. Ah, I shouldn't have clicked next. It's a middle game puzzle. These are my kryptonite. Okay, well, from my rating, you can tell that most things in chess are my kryptonite. What do we have? We do not have any checks. I know that right off the bat. None of our long-range pieces can get to the king. So there's no checks. I don't have to worry about that. There are only captures or threats. I notice that my bishop is pinned to my queen. I notice that the knight is defended. The bishop is not defended. The bishop on g5 is not defended. So if this knight were to go somewhere, it would be under attack. But my bishop's not defended either. I think I was overthinking this. What about this? What about rook to a8? The queen's trapped, right? I think their queen is trapped. That can't be it, right? What are they going to do if I do that? They're just going to take it, aren't they? And then I would take back? Is it going to be that easy? Because what I was thinking was take here, which defends my bishop. Then when they take back, I would put this knight up here. But that wasn't good because they could still take here. And if I took back, then they could take there and I would take there and it would be a bunch of even exchanges. So I'm going to move my rook to a8. I don't believe it could be that simple, but it looks like it is. It was that simple. Oh, I think I should just move this back, right? To where it was to block the, because that would be, actually that wouldn't be checkmate, but I can just move the bishop back. I think that's the best move. Or should I move my queen over to defend it? No, because then that's bad. I could put my queen here to defend it, but then that undefends this pawn. No, that pawn's still defended by the bishop. Okay. I think I should just bring it back. Okay. Well, I think that was 10 puzzles. This was a little bit of a weird video, I feel like. So, but thank you if you stuck with me through this far. I feel like I did learn a couple of things, but I was thrown off my game by a couple of things. One, that I felt like most of these puzzles, except for the 8th one and the 10th one, most of these puzzles felt easier than usual. The 8th one, I was working my way through it, and I messed up by clicking on a square that I thought I was just getting rid of the arrows, and it moved my piece, so I failed it. Otherwise, I would have had 10 in a row. This last one threw me off a little bit because it looked really complicated, but then it turned out to be super simple. This one's been tried 37,000 times. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.